Welcome back to another video brought to you by your one and only literary Pharaoh. I know it's been a couple of days, has flown by actually, that I haven't really posted anything. I really didn't have things to post about. I mean, I always have things to say, but let's just say I didn't have the time to, or been busy, or have been distracted. But one thing you guys know about me, I'm never too busy to go to the gym, and I'm never too busy to break a sweat or work out. My little daughter right now currently is doing what they call summer track, or not summer track, like little league track. With her team. She's only 6 years old, so when her team is out there practicing, I'm out there just doing my little workout. So I stayed running. I'm lifting weights this morning. Woke up at 3:35, 3:40 in the morning. Me and my wife got ready. We both went running. We ran to the gym, worked out at the gym. After the gym, we ran back home. A little bit over 2 miles. If you total up the distance ran to the gym and the distance that we ran back. And while people are deeply in their REM sleep, we're out there just tearing it up. And I feel good this morning. But what I'm making this video for, because I wanted to talk about something. There was an article written by the Washington Times. This article was dating back to last week. I had it on my mind to do a video about it, and I wanted to actually read the article and break down the lies that are in the article. So I want to start imparting to you guys that listen to me a way to critically think and look through the surface things that they're providing you. Look through the surface knowledge that they're giving you. Knowledge is everything, but knowledge can also knowledge also has the ability to be weaponized by those who wield the machine to put forth the message. So the mainstream media machine, the people who control the information, right? They have a way of giving you something that's perceived as knowledge, but knowledge is only knowledge when you can actually use it to your benefit. So even when you're being lied to, that's also knowledge. I want you guys to understand that. Don't ever misconstrue knowledge to mean that it has to be true or factual. I can give you something anytime you're getting information, or anytime that you're receiving something. It's knowledge, right? It's just, what are you going to do with the information that you've received? If someone lies to you, if you can decipher the lie and make clear distinctions of what's the truth and what's the lie, then that knowledge that was given to you, processed in the form of information, has allowed you to impart critical thinking to decipher what's true and what's false. So I don't ever want you guys to think that just because mainstream media is known for lies, you don't listen to it. No, the more you listen to mainstream media, the better equipped you are as a discerner of truth. You become a better critical thinker. See, the mistake that a lot of people make, they just shut off everything. They say, I don't listen to everything. But you need to. You need to understand how the controllers are lying to you. You need to understand their modus of operandi. You need to understand their trends. So the more you listen to what they're giving you, the better you become as a critical thinker. When you shut that off, then you shut off the brain's ability to actually maneuver and exercise itself in trying to decipher truth from falsities. Then when you stop the exercising of that brain, you lose that ability because you're not using it. You guys have heard the saying, what you don't use, you lose. So you have to continue to use that. So I was reading this article by Washington Times. It was talking about how there are 480 new cases of measles. So when I saw that number, 480 cases, number one, the first thing I asked myself is, and this is just the title of the article, the first thing I asked myself was, okay, 480. I don't believe that. Now you may say, but why would they lie? Why would they tell you the truth? See, the onus is not on me to prove that they're lying to us. Mainstream media has always kept secrets away from the public. The onus is on them. The responsibility is on them to uncover their truths. They have more to prove than I have to prove. I don't have to prove shit. I don't have to believe what they're telling me, because far too often the mainstream media has found themselves on the wrong side of being honest. They've been totally dishonest with the American people, especially when it comes to like main stories. Any type of story that's going to manipulate the minds of the masses, or that's going to move or shift people in a particular direction. Anything that deals with the psychology of the human race, most of the time, 99% of the times, you are being lied to. because they want you to move in a certain way. So when I read the article, the title, it said 480 cases. I'm like, how do we know that those cases are measles? What are the markers of having measles? Because I do know more than the average bear. I know that many causes of diseases within the body, oftentimes in different people, because different people have different biochemical makeups, and a lot of people deep within their genetic coding, people aren't wired the same. Generally speaking, we're wired the same in terms of traits. Like, we all have arms and heads and brains, all right? You can study humans generally, but when you take a deeper dive into the molecular structure of humans and you start looking at the biochemistry of each individual, and you start identifying the month in which a person was born, there are certain people that are born in a certain month that are more predisposed to certain symptoms when they get a particular illness. Like, some people just have a problem with upper respiratory problems. They have problems with their respiratory system. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. It's just that depending on the month that they were born, they're more exposed to have respiratory issues. Certain people that were born on a different month may have problems with their cardiovascular system, or maybe their digestive system, or some people born within a particular time frame or a particular month, and these months are broken down in quarterlies. Like, they're usually like a 4-month increments, right? It's not like if you're born in January, you're going to get a different symptom. If you're born in February, you get a different symptom. It's not like 12 different symptoms. It's around the time that you're born, right? So if you're born on a particular time, what that does do, it factors into how your body responds to certain toxins. So the point that I'm making with this is that just because 3 people have the same symptoms doesn't necessarily mean that they have the same disease. It's just that the symptomatic responses are similar, but the causation may be different. Okay? Just like you may have people who live in the same house, they all get sick around the same time. The environment is the factor. You have to factor in environment. You have to factor in nutrition. Okay, you have to factor in stress levels, and you have to also factor in how often people are exposed to biochemical weapons that they are unaware of, like the chemtrails that they're spraying on us daily, and not to leave off the impact of the poisonous foods that a lot of us are eating. So everyone in that house may get sick at the same time, but the symptoms may be different. It doesn't mean that you have different sicknesses. You just have the same cause, but different symptoms. But on the same level, you can also have the same cause. You could also have different causes in same symptoms. So the symptom is never supposed to be the metric or the litmus test to say this is what you have. The symptom is just supposed to tell you that there's something wrong with you. The hard work goes into digging deep beneath the surface of what the symptom is giving you to find out the cause of why you're having those symptoms in the first place. So it goes both ways. In a household, you can have the same cause because everybody in that environment are exposed to the same thing, but then the people in that household may emit or portray or exhibit different symptoms. Okay? They'll emit different symptoms with the same cause. But on the same token, you also have situations where people have different symptoms, but the same. You have different. They'll have the same cause, right? They'll have the same cause, like the household scenario, same cause, different symptoms. But you also have people who have different causes, but then will also have the same symptoms. So the point that I'm making is that it's not that black and white. But what is black and white is that when your body shows symptoms, it's an indication there's something wrong. And usually the layer of the skin, when you have skin problems or rashes or you break out in hives, the skin is usually the first organ that lets you know that there's something wrong internally inside of you. All right, you can get headaches, runny nose, and all those things can happen to you. And sometimes those things that are deemed to be illnesses are actually your body operating in a way to regenerate itself and to push out all the toxic debris that are inside of your body. So the body is its own cleansing machine, if I can use that term. It cleanses itself. So when you're being cleansed, we call that being sick, when in actuality that's optimal health. You know, when you clean your house, that's a good thing. When your body is cleaning itself, it should be considered a good thing. But we call it a bad thing. Then we go to the store to get over-the-counter drugs that are more toxic than the debris that our body is trying to push out in the first place. So we end up replenishing ourselves with toxicity. So the cycle always begins. Hence, we have people that are dying younger. We have people that are getting sicker quicker. We have people who live at the hospital. We have people who are simply, you have junk food addicts. You have people who are medication addicts. They go from one medication to the next, to the next, to the next. They're so emboldened to what the doctors are giving them. They're so into what the doctors are saying that whatever the doctor says is like gospel. They will believe, even if these are the same people that believe in God, but they'll believe their doctor before they believe God. That's how far off people are into the medical system. So I read the article. It said 480 new breakouts of measles. I didn't believe that, because I don't believe that measles exists in the way that they say that it exists. Because if you look at the symptoms of measles, again, this is what they're giving you. The symptoms of measles mirrors a lot of symptoms of other respiratory diseases or other diseases or other causes. In other words, you cannot use a symptom to identify the cause and say, oh, well, you have this symptom, you have measles. All right? Measles is not the cause of the symptom. Measles doesn't exist the way that they're telling you that it exists. It's all a play on words. It's a play on language, and it's a play on the low vibrational emissions of fear that they're trying to induce upon your psyche, because if they can keep you afraid, it removes a sense of logic. You don't think rationally anymore, because all you're thinking about is, I got to do whatever I can to protect myself from this disease called the measles, the virus that's going to get me. Do you know that if you look up the chemicals in these toxic foods that they're giving us, and if you look up the chemicals that they're spraying on us, the ones that we know of, I did a video a while back, a year ago, about 31 or 32 toxins that they're spraying on us, and these are just the ones we know of. There are many more, by the tons. Okay, they're spraying it on us, and if you don't believe me, just look up. Sometimes you'll see jet engines dispersing these chemicals on you. Nanoparticulates, bioavailable toxins, plastics, nanoplastics, aluminum, strontium, barium. We're talking about things that are very, very hazardous to the human health. And if Americans knew this to be true, they'll be outraged. But people don't give a fuck. They don't care. People just think that the government really has their best interest at heart. And I think that's the first mistake we've made as a people. We've just entrusted our lives for the people to do it for us. Look, there's no one in the world that's going to take care of you better than you. You can't give off your mind and say, oh, well, they're going to do it. The government's going to take care of it. Well, they're doing everything that they can to make it better for us. And the evil people no, the government is the evil entity. We are the good guys, because we have to look out for ourselves. And people who look like they're nut jobs like me, people who are deemed to be crazy conspiracy theorists, people who are deemed to be nut jobs like me, we're the ones that are trying to help. But no one listens to us, because we don't have the machine behind us to push our information to say that what we're saying is true, or what we're saying should be considered to be true. 480 cases of measles is not the case. So as I kept on reading the article, it kept on talking about, and it's a particular county, I think it's Gaines County, I believe, is a county in Texas, and they're saying that a lot of these people are breaking out with measles. And so what this does to the reader, it causes you to have a certain bit of angst against this virus, and it all plays into the same kind of narrative that COVID took, right? It talks about how it first starts. That's how COVID started. It talks about how many people have it, how many people are dying, then the people start to get panicked. Then as people start to get panicked, they start running to their doctors, and the doctors are being told what to say to people, putting people on ventilators that don't need ventilators, because we all know that you don't put a person on a ventilator that can breathe for themselves. If you put somebody on a ventilator that can breathe for themselves, you're gonna overstress their lungs. You're gonna cause their lungs to collapse. It's called pneumothorax. You don't do that. But against logic, people would just run into the doctors, and old people were getting put on ventilators, basically being killed. America was killing people, folks. I know it's hard for you guys to wrap your heads around it, because the next day comes and people just move on and they blame it on COVID. COVID didn't kill anybody. It was the malpractice of the doctors that killed people. COVID never killed anybody. I never knew anybody that I knew in real life. Now, the numbers that they were given on the screen, that's all sensationalized to get you guys to move in a particular direction, to have you be overwhelmed by fear. But if you're not overwhelmed by fear and you take a deep breath and you think about it, who did you really know around you that died of COVID? And if they did die of COVID, did they die at the hospital, or did they drop dead in front of you? Most people who died of COVID died at the hospital, which lets me know, as a critical thinker, that the hospital was killing people. It wasn't the COVID. And most of these people who were dying of alleged COVID already had comorbidities. What do I mean by comorbidities? It means that they were already in bad health. So what they would tell you with this false tester that they were using, this false, forgot the test they called it, the RPI, not MRI test. It was some test that was created by this guy named Kevin Mullis or something like that. I forgot the name of the test. TPR test. I forgot the name of it. Leave a comment and tell me what the name of that test is. But that test was never used to diagnose disease anyway. The inventor of it actually said it. And it's funny, moments after he said that, he ended up being killed. A big coincidence, but he mentioned it, that it was never used to detect or diagnose disease. It was just used to count the molecules that you have in your body. So doctors were using a false test to give out a false diagnosis to get you to take a medicine, or to give you a drug that would kill you. So that's what it was. People were kept away from their loved ones and all that stuff. So once the government, once the mainstream media starts lying to us, and when I say starts, I'm using that word very, very intentionally, because mainstream media didn't just start lying to us. They've always lied to us. But if you're just waking up today, if you want to believe that mainstream media started to lie with COVID, then you have a lot of work to do. They've been lying to us before you were even born. Newspapers have always lied. They've used print media, all right? They've used media to sensationalize stories, even when they made up the stories about how slavery was and how people of color were being hung in the street. That's not the way it was. They literally just took isolated cases in certain counties, in certain areas, and they sensationalized those stories and made that to be the norm. No different than the things that happened during that Black Lives Matter movement, when you had people allegedly going inside stores, burning it down. But these weren't people. These were paid actors who pushed an agenda. But history books would say that in Black Lives Matter movement, people were burning down buildings and causing riots. You see, people can make up stories and sensationalize it whichever way that they want. And because we're not intentional about our efforts to seek truth, and we're so busy paying bills and working our asses off being industrial slaves, we don't really have the time to sit down and decipher these things. We just take, and they give, and we just take. They give, and we just take. No different than a person just driving by a fast food restaurant to get their food. You don't know what the fuck they're putting inside your food, but it's very convenient. The point that I'm making with that, the parallel with that, is that it's very convenient to sit on your ass and just get information. If you get information that way, then you're falling into the narrative. You're falling into the massive indoctrination. It's called, what do they call it? Mass something hypnosis. When a mass of people are hypnotized. Mass formation psychosis. That's what it is. Mass formation psychosis. Everybody gets in line. And you see it happening all the time. So I read the article, but it jumped into the part, it starts to talk about that The reason why a lot of people in that area are getting the measles is because they need to get the measles vaccine. And that's when the light bulb in my head went off. I said, oh, I get why this article is written. It's following the same pathology of what they use with COVID. You start with a large number. You start the slow subtleties of infusing and inducing fear upon the psyches of the people. You just give a number out there. Whether that number is true or not, they don't give a fuck if the number is true. They don't want to give you a ballpark. They don't want to give you a round number. So they give you a number that's, because they could have easily said 500 cases, but they said 480 to give off the veneer or give off the impression that the number that they're giving you is actually accurate, but in actuality it's not accurate. So they're gonna say 480, right? So they say 480. And I'm reading the article. And it starts to talk about how the reason why a lot of these people are getting it is because they didn't get the vaccine, the measles vaccine. That's when the light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, oh, I know why this article is written. It's written to promote the vaccine. It's that simple. We live in a world that promoting death underneath the guise of health is the number one modus of operandi by your enemy. I'm going to say it again. Promoting death, because they're killing you. Listen to what I'm telling you. Promoting death underneath the guise of health is your enemy's number one modus of operandi. They use that as a means to depopulate. And even if they don't have to kill you in a day, folks, it's not about, just like the toxic food industry, everything on those labels are cancerous. They're just your foods that you're eating cancer, folks. Cancer is not some ethereal disease that just came out of the ether, something that just happens to just happen and it's just hereditary or we can't do anything about it. No, we're inducing it. Our culture induces cancer. Our eating habits induces cancer. America alone, I've given you this stat before. America alone, in terms of population numbers, just America, we account for 5% of the world's population. Yet, we account for 95% of the illnesses. Make that make sense. I'm going to say that again. America accounts 5% of the world's population. So the number of people in America alone is only 5% relative to the world's population, which is understandable because the whole world is not living in America. America is just one country, 5%. However, in the big, larger pie of the circular pie, the 100% circular pie, we account for 95% of all the diseases. How does that make sense? What a fucking turnaround. You would think, oh, well, 5% of the population, we probably account for 5% of the illnesses because we're a small amount of number relative to the world's number. Yeah, it just means that America is a sick-ass state. America is in a sick state. America is in a sick condition. Yeah, we are United States of America. We are all united in illnesses. That's what makes us united, not because we're united in, culturally. I mean, every state does their own damn thing. We're not united. The only thing we are united over is illnesses, diabetes, obesity, heart issues, people getting strokes. It's sad, but it's the truth. So I knew what the article was trying to get at when it said, oh, because the people that are getting it are the people who didn't get the vaccine. Start with fear, get you to get the vaccine. Look, I'm not against vaccines. I'm not against it. I'm not for it either. I'm for individual thought. I'm for people to think for themselves. This one-size-fits-all approach is not medicinal. It's not medicine. That is not medicine, folks. It's not medicine. It's not medicine. The measles that they're talking about is not measles. It's radio frequencies that are causing these illnesses. Radio wave technology, radio wave illness. Look it up. Look up the symptoms of radio wave illness when your people are bombarded by so much electromagneticism, because we are electromagnetified. All the power lines, Wi-Fi signals, radiation poisoning, toxic foods that end up giving off symptoms of neurotoxins cause symptoms that are very similar to symptoms of measles. So the point that I'm making is that there are multiple causes, all right, to sometimes to symptoms that are given general, vague definitions. Just because you may have a symptom of measles doesn't mean you have measles. Doesn't mean you have measles. Now you can call it whatever you want to call it, but the body is under an imbalance. So in order to put itself back into balance, all right, it needs to weaken you, put you in a state where you don't have appetite, and the body will do whatever it needs to do to put itself back in equilibrium. If that means stopping you in your tracks, weakening you, it'll do so. If that means causing you to push out certain toxic debris through your excretory organs, the ear, the nose, the anus, the mouth, some people vomit, through your pores, through your organs, it'll happen. So the article went on and on about vaccine this, vaccine that, and your local health authority is wanting you to get the vaccines. I'm like, okay, I get what this article is about. If these vaccines were so beneficial, why is it that America accounts for 95% of the world's illnesses? I don't think you guys are actually factored in. I don't think you guys understand the implications of the number that I just gave you. 5% of the world's population, that's what America is. But yet we account for 95% of the diseases. That's insane. But yet we have more doctors than you can count in America. We have all these medicines that are being dispersed in America. The pharmaceutical industry is booming here in America. Actually, doctors are nothing but drug pushers. All right, you're talking about cartel. The pharmaceutical industry are an organized form of a cartel, because all they do, they deal with narcotics, they deal with drugs, albeit legally. They're still dealing drugs, and the drugs that they're giving you aren't good for you. There's no medicine that could be created in a lab that's going to be good for you. It may mask your symptoms. It may make you feel better. It may. And may psychosomatically put yourself in a psychological state where you believe that what you're taking is going to make you feel better. You start feeling better, because I've talked to you guys about the power of thought and the power of belief. Those things can go a long way with healing you. Your body heals itself. It does. You'd be amazed what happens when you actually get sleep. And you also will be amazed what happens when you lack sleep. That alone should let you know that our bodies are capable of doing certain things without the use of chemical concoctions that are created in a laboratory, that are given the name medicine. There's nothing medicinal about the medical industry. The medical industry is alternative. And the medicine that they deem to be alternative is actually real medicine. They flipped it on us. They've inverted the whole medical model. Even our whole base on medicine is based upon a false premise of something called germ theory that has never been proven. And the study of viruses is not something that should be taken seriously, because the way they study viruses and the things that they talk about when they talk about viruses are not actually true. Viruses are not what they're telling you that they are. You know who the true virus is? We are the virus. They deem us to be the virus, and the injections that they keep giving you and the medicines they keep giving you are a way to get rid of the virus over time. Study the ancient mythological writings. Look into the books, the Sumerian tablets. It talks about depopulation tactics that were always used by these extraterrestrial beings. They started doing chemtrails back then, starving crops from growing, people starving, starting wars just to get rid of a lot of people. Because fighting wars, not only does it have a benefit of you killing off people, but I mean, the Federal Reserve, the bankers get rich, the money printers are loving that, because they can actually oppress countries and have those countries on their knees being in debt to the banks. Remember, every state in America is a corporation. That's why you have a social security number. Your social security number is your employee ID. We're nothing but worker slaves, folks. I know you guys have this belief about America, land of the free, home of the brave. No, it's land of the enslaved and home of the cowards. We're a bunch of cowards because none of us are brave enough to confront the truth, number one, because you have to confront truth. A lot of people are not even ready to receive the truth because they don't feel like they have anything else to lean on. They'd rather keep their eyes closed, keep hoping and believing of a savior that's going to save the day, rather than confronting the truth. Once you get over the hurdle of confronting truth, now you have to be a person that starts to profess the truth. And people aren't doing either one. You know what people are doing? Turning a blind eye, living life. They know that life is evil. They know that there's something wrong, but they're waiting for that savior to save the day, to come and fix everything. Nobody's fixing shit but us. But I don't think our generation or even the next generation are going to be equipped to do anything. I think in due time, I think human beings are just going to be mutated into a form where they're amalgamated with AI themes, and we're also going to have human consciousness mixed in with AI, and then AI will override our consciousness. And that's where I think humanity is going. The drugs that they're giving us, the nanoparticulates that we're breathing in, the nanoplastics and those things that are in us, those little small tiny micro robots, it's all done for a reason, to get us all hooked up to a particular type of technology or something called the hive mind, where the hive mind dictates human behavior. But this happens over time. You guys won't see it happen because it's so subtle, and people like me and others who speak about things like this are going to be looked at to be the geniuses, the ones that people marginalize and scoffed at and laughed at as, oh, y'all are crazy, y'all are fear mongers. No, we're not fear mongers. The mainstream media are fear mongers. They give you fear so you can buy their product. It's all about commerce and pushing product. It's always been about commerce and pushing product. I have to get you to feel that you're vulnerable to get you to buy into what I'm selling. Whether you're selling a product or selling an ideology or selling some sort of philosophy or selling some type of way of life. The point that I'm making is that you're selling something. So that's what's being done. So the article went on and on. I didn't even read. Well, I did read the whole thing, and I just kept hearing the word about go get your vaccine, go get your vaccine. So every 5 years, there's always something coming out to force people to go get it, and you see people falling for the trap. You see people walking around with masks on, stopping themselves from breathing because they feel like if I can stop myself from breathing, I'm gonna be healthy. No, you're a dumbass. You were given an apparatus to breathe with. Your nose is an instrument of breathing. It has a filtering system that filters out toxicity and what you don't need, and it allows you to absorb oxygen to your brain into the necessary areas that you need them. And here you are. You have people covering their noses because they feel like if they breathe in air, they're gonna get sick. Like, how sick is that? How retarded is that? I'm gonna close my eyes so I can see clearly. I'm gonna cover my nose so I can be healthy. Do you know your nose is a tool for health? Your nose is a tool for health. But that's what fear does to you. It cripples you. And the more anxious you are, the more uptight you are about every germ and every disease and everything, and I can't touch this and I have to wash my hands 50 times a day. Those are the people that get sick the most. Because number one, you are already putting yourself underneath psychological stress. So psychological stressors are a cause of many diseases within the body, causing imbalances. And number two, you overwash your hand. You're washing off all your staphylococcal bacteria. Staphylococcal bacteria is actually good bacteria that actually helps your immunity, helps you adapt to your environment. You can't be too clean. All right, you can't get rid of everything. That'll make you sick. So that's what that article was about. I said, wow, it doesn't stop. They continue to play upon the minds of the people. They continue to do it every day. Now it's measles. Now it's going to be something else later on. All right? But that's what I wanted to give you guys today. Just to be clear about the approaches of mainstream media and how they use fear as a way to induce illogical actions from people who don't know any better because they've given their minds off to the industry. No different than people giving off their diet and giving off their nutrition and giving off their health to the industry. They let Starbucks, they let Chick-fil-A, they let McDonald's, they let Jack in the Box, they let fast food restaurants feed them, and they wonder why they're sick as fuck. Well, if you're gonna let mainstream media feed you, your psyche is gonna be sick. You're gonna be always afraid. We have everything that we need to survive. We were made for this atmospheric level. So you're gonna have to do a lot of things to actually destroy us, but we're destroying ourselves because we're letting fear help us run to the death cult that are actually intentionally doing things to actually kill us. Or if not kill us, make us sick so we die. So we do die. See, you can't kill off all your workers, but you have to make them sick enough where they can still work, but yet still be dependent upon the pharmaceutical industry. It's a win-win, guys. I still get to kill you, but not immediately. But I still need you to work because each one of you guys with an employee number, or i.e. social security number, you guys are working for me. So go be an industrial slave. All right, work for the system. And when you get older in age, you'll be a regular visitor to your doctor's to the hospital, going to see your doctor, and And the doctors are only telling you what they're being told to tell you by the same system that created the death cult to begin with. The death cult has taken over every facet of life. It's taken over education. It's taken over the medical industry. It's taken over religion. It's taken over everything. It's taken over the food industry. If you want to understand the makeup of a civilization, look at their daily practices. You say, but literary pharaoh, what do you mean look at their daily practices? Well, look at what we do daily. Look at what we watch. Look at what we eat. Everything we do induces death. Nothing is life-giving. Most of the things we do numbs the brain, numbs critical thought. The things we drink and eat are killing us. Land of the free, home of the brave, right? I want you guys to rethink that. We're not really free, and we're not brave. Till next time, guys. Remember, your health is your wealth. Peace.